What's the deal? This is fun, and I'm going to list my top 21 favorite female vocalists in the R&B and Soul genre. For every artist on the list, I will include my favorite album from them and also a song that showcases their vocal ability. At number 21, to start the list off, is Miss Erykah Abby Wright, also known as Erykah Badu. Erykah has a very unique, jazzy voice. Hearing that voice over bass-heavy instrumentals in the mid-90s was really something new to the soul, neo-soul genre. Her uniqueness, tone, and power warrants her a spot on this list. My album pick for her is Baduism, which was released in 1997. A song pick showcasing her vocal ability is Kiss Me on the Neck from her Mama's Gun album. At number 20 is Miss Roberta Cleopatra Flack, also known as Roberta Flack. Roberta has a golden tone. Her voice is extremely soothing, warm. She's underrated, not mentioned nearly enough in comparison to other great singers. My album choice for her is Feel Like Making Love. My song choice is Feel Like Making Love from the same album. At number 19 is Miss Lalah Hathaway. Layla's voice is very smooth, warm, and she has a ridiculous lower register. Her voice is very reminiscent of her father's at times, but she is very much her own artist. My album pick for her is her self-titled debut, which was released in 1990. My song pick for her is Heaven Knows from the same album. At number 18 is Yvette Marie Stevens, also known as Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan's vocal power, apart from anything, makes her voice iconic. Chaka Khan had great albums with Rufus, but I'm going to choose a solo album, Naughty, which was released in 1980. My song pick for her is I Know You, I Live You, produced by the legendary Arif Mardin. Check out her early solo career albums with Arif. They made great art together. At number 17 is Miss Stephanie Dorothy Mills, also known as Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills may be little, but man, her voice is stadium filling powerful. She has that unique pitch, almost like an opera singer. She reminds me of, better yet, Terry Ellis from En Vogue reminds me of her. They both have similar singing styles. Stephanie is no doubt a legend in the genre of soul. My album pick for her is If I Were Your Woman, released in '87, and my song pick is watch her perform at Sinbad's Summer Jam in '98. I'll link the video in the description. At number 16 is Miss Sade Adu. Sade has that golden tone which makes her voice iconic. It almost puts her in her own genre. She's one of the most famous contraltos ever because of what her voice brings to music, and she's definitely a legend in her own right. She has that very unique lower register. An album pick for her is Promise, but you can virtually listen to any album in her discography to take in her vocals. Promise just happens to be my personal favorite album from her. My song pick is Sweet as Taboo from the same album. And listen to Your Love is King live. I will put the link of the video in the description. At number 15 is Miss Minnie Julia Ripperton Rudolph, also known as Minnie Ripperton. Minnie Ripperton's range was ridiculous. Many referred to her as the original queen of the whisper voice before Mariah Carey. Her along with Denise Williams, of course. Minnie's tone was also unique, very soft but warm. My album pick for her is Perfect Angel, which was released in '74. My song pick for her is Wouldn't Matter Where You Are. I wouldn't say it's her strongest vocals song, but it is a good song in general from her Stay in Love album. At number 14 is Miss Gladys Maria Knight, also known as Gladys Knight. Gladys Knight just has this unique grittiness to her voice that makes it one of my personal favorites in soul. Her range may not be the greatest, but the power behind her voice really distinguishes her from many other singers. My album pick for her is with the Pips is Neither One of Us, which was released in '73. My song pick is The Making of You, which is a cover of Curtis Mayfield's version. You can find the song on the soundtrack of Claudine. At number 13 is Miss Ledisi Young, also known as Ledisi. Ledisi's voice is amazing. Her live performances never cease to exceed the studio versions of her songs. She's an easy addition to this list. An album to check out is her voice is Pieces of Me, released in 2011. A song to check out is Joy from her Lost and Found album released in 2007. At number 12 is Miss Beyoncé Knowles Carter, also known as Beyoncé. Beyoncé has been killing the game for over 2 decades now. I understand many consider her pop, however, she has done many quote-unquote R&B songs. Her power range, and in my opinion, her ability to hit that lower register definitely warrants her a spot on this list. Sometimes when an artist is so big, people fail to appreciate how talented they are, and this is the case with Beyoncé. I'm gonna go back to her R&B roots for my album pick and pick an album she did with Destiny's Child, which is Writing on the Wall, released in 1999. And my song pick is listen to the live version of I Care she did for her homecoming performance. I will link the video in the description. At number 11 is Brandy Norwood, also known as Brandy. Brandy is nicknamed the Vocal Bible for a reason. She may not rival in power with some of the singers on this list, but her tone and voice control are absolutely perfect. I love the unique raspiness to her voice, and she's just an incredible singer. My personal favorite album from her is Never Say Never. However, she took it to another level vocally with Full Moon. A song that you should check out is Saving All My Love from her latest album, B7. At number 10 is Miss Jill Heather Scott, also known as Jill Scott. Jill Scott's voice is absolutely ridiculous. She's not afraid to test out different genres. My album pick for her is Who is Jill Scott? Words and Sounds, Volume 1, which was released in 2000. My song pick that most certainly showcases her vocal ability is He Loves Me from the same album. At number 9 is Miss Chanté Moore. Chanté Moore is one of the most underrated vocalists in her era. She does pretty much everything well. She makes my top 10 for that reason alone. My album pick for her is A Love Supreme, which was released in 1994. For a song, listen to her live version of It's Alright. I'll post the link of the video in the description. At number 8 is Miss Phyllis Linda Hyman, also known as Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman, in my opinion, has one of the most powerful voices I've ever heard. Her technique was very unique and original, and she had a great range. It's really a shame she took her own life. She was extremely talented, and her music, in my honest opinion, was only getting better as she grew as an artist. My album pick for her is Living All Alone, which was released in '86. My song pick for her is I Found Love. At number 7 is Miss Mariah Carey. Yes, I mean Mariah in her prime. I don't really need to go into detail about how iconic Mariah's voice was. She had a number of greats from generations before her acknowledge how great her voice was. All I'm saying was, like, she gone. She's still here. She's a living legend. My album pick for her is Daydreaming, which was released in 1995. She has plenty of songs that showcase her vocal ability, so I'll just recommend a song that I like, which is The Roots from her Butterfly album. At number 6 is Miss Lisa Fischer. The word underrated gets thrown around a lot, but man, this woman is the embodiment of that word. She has a flawless voice. She only recorded one studio album, which is So Intense, released in 1991. My song pick for her is check out the live version of How Can I Ease the Pain. I'll post the link to the video in the description. At number 5 is Miss Patti LaBelle. Patti is widely known for her vocals, an absolute legend, and in my opinion, the most powerful voice I've ever heard in the genre of soul. She has the control and range to back it up. My album pick for her is Pressure Cooking with LaBelle, released in '73. My song pick is Last Dance, which is one of my favorite soul songs ever recorded. At number 4 is Miss Anita Denise Baker. Anita may not have the vocal range of any of the top 10 singers on this list. However, her technique is absolutely ridiculous. She's my favorite soul and R&B artist. There's not a single bad album from her, and her live performances are truly remarkable. My album pick for her is Rapture, which was released in '86, and I contend this album to be one of the greatest soul albums ever. My song pick for her is the live version of You Bring Me Joy. I will post a link to the video in the description. At number 3 is Miss Aretha Louise Franklin, also known as Aretha Franklin. Aretha's voice, I don't really need to get into detail. She is widely regarded as one of the greatest soul singers of all time. I think we'll never see a voice as soulful as hers again. She truly had the power to evoke emotion solely based on her vocals alone. For my album pick, I'm actually gonna go back to her gospel roots, Amazing Grace, which was released in '72. My song pick for her is Daydreaming. At number 2 is Miss Rachelle Ferrell. Rachelle's vocal ability is out of this planet. I personally haven't seen vocal control like this woman has. Her voice is a literal instrument. She has the power, range, tone, technique, all down pat. Check out her Individuality album, which was released in 2000. My song pick for her is her live version of I Can Explain. I'll post a link to the video in the description. At number 1 is Miss Whitney Elizabeth Houston. Whitney was a generational talent. The power, range, technique. Like Aretha, her voice had the ability to make you feel. There's some things you simply can't measure on paper, and Whitney is just a living embodiment of that. She exemplified that. My album pick for her is I'm Your Baby Tonight, which was released in 1990. My song pick is the live version of I Am Nothing. I'll post the link to the video in the description. Now, of course, with only 21 spots, and you're talking about the greatest female vocalist in R&B and Soul of all time, you're going to have some folks left off. So now I'm going to include some honorable mentions without any descriptions. Mahalia Jackson, Yolanda Adams. Yolanda is more gospel heavy. If that weren't the case, she would definitely be on the list. Terry Ellis, Denise Williams, Etta James, Amel Leroux, Tamia, some new artists doing it today. Jasmine Sullivan, Janelle Monáe, Linda Dawn, Cleo Soul, Ari Lennox, Chloe and Holly, Solange. Solange has been in the game for a while, but she's definitely made her name for herself within this past decade. Tell me what y'all think about the list. Also, add your favorite female vocalist in the comments below.